Hello. Actually, I'll just move the microphone. All right. So maybe you can see behind me that there is rather a lot of change going on here at the moment. I am feeling a little bit better after COVID. That wasn't fun. So yeah, if you're waiting for a reply on any of emails to me or something like that, I am catching up on them. I was just out for a while, and very tired, so yeah, I'm massively behind. But this week, on the live stream collection of things, we're up to G. G is for granular. And the granular in this question is called, it is a port of the Mutable Instruments module, clouds. There is actually a bunch of other granular things in Beebo and Hector, but specifically the one that's called granular is a port of clouds. So we'll start with showing that off. So the most traditional granular thing in Eurorack is when you run, it's called rings into clouds. So you run Mutable Instruments rings into Mutable Instruments clouds. We use some different names for those because that's all that software is open source, but obviously Mutable Instruments, Emily doesn't want you to use their the company's Mutable Instruments names for stuff. So instead, yeah, we're following her request on that. So it's so mutable. The multi-resonator is what is rings, and we're running that into the granular. So I'll just connect those up. So I'll set this. We'll run through all the details of this. We'll set the blend on this one all the way down to start with. So we'll run even. We'll run that into both. Even into right in to start with, and then we will run that left out into wet left and into right out into right left wet. Now, to get some sounds out of the multi-resonator, we will run a trigger from the chaos controller, which we've talked about in a previous video. We'll grab a T out, which is our triggers, into a strum of the multi-resonator. So, and we've set a level here, so they will get less noisy and strings. And we will also connect up our odd outs to odd right. So now we have some sound. So that's just so we've got blend to 0, so it's totally clean as far as the granular goes. So that's just the multi-resonator doing its thing. So that's quite dull so far. So obviously there's a bunch of different options here. We'll start with this one right now, and we'll start to add some things into this. So remember, we're not talking really about multi-resonator today. That's going to be when we get up to M. We're going to granular, but we'll just add a little bit of flavor here. So remember, this has got a bunch of outputs. We've got the triggers here, and we've got the X and the Ys. So we'll just make this a little bit interesting by sending one of our X's, X1, and we'll send that up to pitch, which I was looking for. Pitch. So now we'll just set that to be something interesting. So now we're actually getting some pitch movement there. Yep, it's quantum. Can reduce that spread if we want. But we've got pitch movement going on. So we'll probably want to also connect up some of the other x's to some of the other parameters, so we can control some of the other, add a little bit of humanization and flavor into that. But we'll add them in a bit. So we've got a basic sound going on. Haven't got any reverb or anything like that yet. So now let's start doing interesting things with granular. Remember, the granular, we really want to start doing things as far as modulation of this. So we'll start with using one of these trigger outputs from our chaos controller. T2 maybe. And we'll start that to trigger the granular. And now we'll put up our blend. Okay, so we're already getting something with a little bit of interest there. So this grain density control is one of the most important things. Yeah, that'll control. You can see there's a picture on the left here of really dense grains, less dense, not as dense, but regular. And then if you go the other side, they're more chaotic grains. So this can get pretty crazy if you go here. So you get into very dense grains. So if you've got a lot of reverb and very dense grains, it gets pretty out of hand. This direction. Your grains are more chaotic. So we're getting some, now we've introduced this reverse kind of grain. So you see that sounds quite pretty. So we're getting some nice little effects there. If you do have any specific questions about the granular module, feel free to ask them in the comments. Yeah. So yeah, you just saw I turned on reverse. Reverse reverses the grains. It's pretty straightforward. And you see they sound quite pretty now. So yeah, that density is quite pretty there. Okay, so basically the rest of the controls, apart from reverb, control how the grains are. So I should explain what granular is. So the concept of granular is that you record little bits of sound and then you play them back in different ways. So each of these little sections of sound is called a grain. So you might have particular envelopes on a grain to move in and out and change the levels of them. You might have pitch shifting on a grain. You might change where in the grain you are reading from, which is the position control. You might play the grain backwards. You might repeatedly play a grain or something like that. So this will have different ways of playing back the grain as far as the envelopes. Pointy starts. Square, much more immediate attack, obviously. So let's change our grain size up a bit. Let's see what that does. Might go for totally regular grains just to make these more obvious. The little grain's quite nice, actually. So yeah, you've got. So the size changes how large the section of how long a sample is, a grain. So obviously you get little blobs. Or you get much longer blobs. If you turn, I've got feedback selected. Feedback should be quite obvious. So that's actual feedback on each grain. So that is an interesting interaction with the density control, because density is how many grains there are. So if we turn up the density control, we're now getting dense, short grains. But with dense, long grains. But they're not like overwhelming because we don't have feedback on them. See, so that does some kind of interesting things there. So some of the controls interact in interesting ways. So if we go back to this and crank our feedback back up. You see things going on there. So position is where in the grain you're reading from. So you might want to, skip certain sections of it. This is kind of interesting when you modulate it. Just increase the speed of clouds a tiny bit. Just because I'm impatient. So this one's quite interesting to modulate. Reverb is just reverb, it turns on this. To me, pretty terrible sounding reverb, but we have a lot of other reverb options, so you can use the reverb in here. It's very metallic though, but that might be what you want. Turn that reverb down a little bit. And you got pretty straightforward bonky sounds. And then you can get into fun stuff when you start to modulate some of these. So let's grab X2, chuck that into position. See how that's getting a bit more interesting. Do I want to use that? Actually, what? Oh, I haven't showed pitch. There was one. I knew what this one was. So, pitch. Use pitch shifting. The repeats are pitch shifted. You can go microtonal if you want with the knobs, or you can skip. You can be quantized to a specific pitch. So feedback is important here. So yeah, now I've got position modulating, and spread changes how it mixes between the left and right channels. So they'll have more space. The grains will be spread out more in the left-right channels, stereo space. So, yeah, it sounds quite nice if you add a little bit of something going on, maybe with the Y output, to made out this guy go a bit more interesting. So there you can see some very basic usage of the granular module. There's a lot of videos and content about clouds, so you'll see tons of videos around on that one. So you'll be able to find out lots of information about absolutely everything on this one. That's all the parameters explained. And that's how to get some slightly weird noises out of it. If you got any questions specifically, I'll have a glance. Alright, so that's doing its thing. Let's get rid of that. Alright, now we're going to show off the last one in G, granular looping. What is this, you might ask? It's just a different model of clouds, but it works in quite a different way, and we'll show you how. It's got a different interface that isn't as nice. So we'll stick in that into the left, into the right, disconnect this guy up again, left out to right. I'm not sure if we should go for something. We'll go for something a little bit plonkier, so it's a bit more obvious. So that was, yeah, this is totally dry. Now, full wet. Diffusion makes those repeats more smeared. As you can tell. They're more and now they're more smushed together. Feedback does what you expect feedback to do. Depending on which way you go. Spread does the same thing before. Basically is similar to the grains idea, but here it's more as a delay. So you can get some quite interesting results with different tape lengths. So pitch windows. If you're doing anything, doesn't have pitches. it changes the quality and character of the chipping. Because it's like how large a section is grabbed for pitch. And that is the freezes it. See here that the loop is now frozen. So we're still getting new content in here, so we're playing. Frozen, so a minute pending. So most of the controls don't actually go anywhere frozen. Frozen backwards. All of these are obviously controllable externally as well. So last little bit of craziness. Let's make Y change our tape. You hear we're getting quite interesting effects now. And it's quite a powerful technique. Obviously running this all on synth at the moment. All of this is of course possible with guitar as well. Yep. And I'm just gonna quickly show a little bit of guitar, and that'll be enough granular looping. So we'll get rid of our friendly multi-resonance, and we will hopefully left in, right in. Crank our levels up a bit. So now we can, yeah, same thing, but with guitar. Effects will be pretty much the same. So yeah, if you want to noodle, sometimes it'll be easier to grab, and my strap fell off. Yeah, sometimes if you want to noodle, you know, you could set up a sound with a synth preset, just so you can easily play the things at the same time, and then work it out over guitar. Give me some gain. So you see, yeah, still quite a similar effect. So that's my clean sound. And then we're getting into quite usable on guitar as well. Yeah, so yeah, that's the granular options on guitar. We saw that I was running a little bit of gain from flat 5 here. I had the A and B channels on, mostly because I had the levels kind of set for the synthy stuff and wanted to have something a bit hotter into that. So yeah, that's just a quick show of the granular looping options. Obviously, we've got pretty minimal modulation going on here at the moment. As you start to get into more modulation, you can get some really interesting sounds. Remember that there's lots of different modulations options. The chaos controller is obviously chaotic, but you can get rhythmic stuff, LFOs, sequences, all of that going on, and modulating different things. And then you can control the amounts of some of those modulations very easily to kind of control how extreme you want some of those modulations to be. So if you've got a modulator that's doing too much, maybe you can run it into something that slows down that modulation, like a filter or a slew limiter, or even if you just want to squish it down a little bit, an attenuator or something. So yeah, that's the gist of G, and that's the end of G. So thanks for watching the live stream. I'll just check if there are any last-minute questions. If there are, please ask them. Otherwise, that is it for today. All right. Thank you very much for checking out the live stream. And I will see you next week as we continue on.